Hello friends, welcome back. In this video lesson, we shall be continuing with our concept of health. And in this lesson, we shall be talking about the laws of health. You might wonder, what are the laws of health? In fact, it might be the first time that you are listening to this phrase. As a matter of fact, we are familiar with so many other laws. Newton's laws of motion, Newton's law of gravitation, Avogadro's law, the laws of thermodynamics, and so on. But laws of health, well, let's take a closer look at what exactly we mean by laws. So first of all, what is a law in science? Is it some formula? Is it some big earth moving statement? Well, a law is basically a description of an observed phenomenon. Anything that has been observed consistently, accurately, forms an impression in the mind of the observer, and that person is able to give that description in the form of a law. It does not explain why that phenomenon exists or what causes it. So a law does not explain the why and how of it. It is just a summary of observed phenomenon. In science, laws are the starting place. It is only afterwards that we start theorizing about them. Then we ask questions of why does that happen? How does that happen? And then the theories come up. So law has got nothing to explain why it happens, but it is a description of an observed phenomenon. Next, we must understand that health is a natural phenomenon. Sickness, disease, illness is out of the normal. It is unnatural. If we look around us, we find that all organisms are naturally healthy, be they animals, be they plants, or even microorganisms for that matter. All these organisms do not follow any system of care. When it comes to plant life or animal life or microorganisms, they don't argue or discuss about allopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine. Every living creature is essentially in a natural state of health. The next thing we must understand is that the ability to be healthy predates any healing system. Even before any of these healing systems came up, even the old traditional system that date back to thousands of years, we have a long history of evolution. And we have a very large population and a very diverse population of living creatures, and all of them are able to self-heal to more or less a larger extent. The natural laws of health are sufficient to heal us. Now, when we are talking about laws, they must be universal. We are talking about the laws of health over here. So they must apply to all living organisms. They must be validated by observation, which is one of the fundamental definitions of a scientific law. And they must be rooted in natural philosophy. When we talk about natural philosophy, we think that it is not part of science. Sadly, that is a misimpression we have. If you take up the syllabus of any medical school in India, for instance, the MBBS syllabus, which you will find in the references section in another module, in the entire course where people are prepared to become doctors, there is not a single hour of education in natural philosophy. That doesn't apply to courses in Ayurveda or homeopathy though, or in even traditional Chinese medicine, which are rooted in natural philosophy as their foundation. Now, what exactly do laws do? They define relationships. They define relationships between a practitioner and a patient. That's what we are doing in our health care profession. They define the relationship between substance and energy. Any remedy is essentially something that creates or it disturbs or brings about a change in energy and therefore in substance. Another thing we must understand is the meaning of illness. This is something that is often forgotten in modern medical practice. Every illness has got a meaning. And by the end of this course, you will be able to understand these concepts very clearly. And of course, we must also have certain laws so that we can match the requirements of a patient with the remedy that we are giving him. One of the most beautiful systems that meets all these requirements 100% is homeopathy. Now we come to the first law. There are in total 5 laws. The first law is very simple. Every action is matched by an equal reaction. You might be reminded of Newton's third law of motion. Well, that's not a problem, for the simple reason that even in life sciences we find that every action, even that happens at the molecular level, is matched by an equal reaction. Every cause has an effect, and lifestyles cause certain symptoms. All these symptoms are actually reactions to actions of environment, of lifestyle, or of conscious or unconscious actions done by a person or living organism. So symptoms essentially are a reaction to the environment. So that's clear. First law is all about action and equal reaction. We'll be dwelling on this later when we come to the concept of remedies in homeopathy. The second law is a restatement of the conservation of energy and mass. Nothing is created or destroyed. All that happens is change in form. That form can be a physical form, a chemical form, or it could just be energy. A consequence of that is that illness and health are actually aspects of a totality. One transforms into another under given circumstances. That is determined by the first law, that every reaction occurs for a disturbance in the environment. Similarly, birth and death are just a change of the state of being. We'll be devoting one entire module on the care for elderly and end of life care, something that is neglected in most medical systems. The third law of health is, of course, well known to you. And there's a very popular phrase that in this world, the only constant is a change. So change is a constantly happening thing, and that is its beauty. Complex systems decay. This has been stated and overstated, either in the second law of thermodynamics or in the concept of entropy. But at the same time, we must realize that simple systems become more organized and complex. And in turn, these complex systems decay into simpler or more fundamental particles or more fundamental constituents. What we have to remember, and which is important to us as healers, is that organisms inherently maintain a steady state. And that tells us or explains why essentially health is more a normal phenomenon and illness is actually a deviation from the normal. We'll also be taking this into account when we talk about healing later. The fourth law is that whatever we perceive or see is affected by the medium. You're all aware that if you put a stick or a spoon in a glass of water, it appears bent. It doesn't really bend. What is happening is that the light velocity is changed because of the medium. Light has got different velocities of transmission in air and water, and that is what gives the impression or perception of a bent spoon. This is something we must understand very clearly. Observation is determined by position. If you change your position, you will see different aspects of the same thing. A diamond shows different reflection of light when it is viewed through different facets. Another point to be remembered is that every observation is essentially into the past, because by the time you register that into your intelligence, it's already happened in the past. Finally, in the fourth law, we can include that since your position affects your observation, here is a nice graphic which I love. If you take the number 6 viewed from top, somebody will say it is a 9, and if it is viewed from below, it will be seen as a 6. So two people can see things differently. Your perception of a person's illness is quite different from the perception of illness of that person. Just remember that, and that will help you tremendously, not only in building rapport, but also in finding a cure for that condition. And now we come to the fifth and last law of health. It is that laws govern objects and energy alike. There is no difference whether what we say is a human being or an animal or something which apparently is inanimate. Don't forget that even so-called inanimate things are abundant with energy, and energy of a particular description. All matter has the potential to change. It's not just change of state, it can be change of form, it can be change of energy. Change is an expression of energy. A very simple way to understand that is a living person will have a reaction to the environment, first law, and that could be represented or exhibited in terms of symptoms. A dead body has no symptoms. It does not have any expression of energy. Body is influenced by energy of thought. Whatever we think also carries energy with it. Therefore, thought has got tremendous amount of potential in healing. And we shall be seeing in a later module how we can tap this resource by teaching our patients to use it to their advantage. So friends, this was a summary of the 5 laws. Thank you very much for your attention. You can review this video any number of times. But remember, these 5 laws are at work universally, regardless of whether a thing is a person, an animal, or even a microorganism. So till we meet again in the next lesson, thank you very much and bye-bye.